Now we'll go to bout 3. We'll invite Dr. Falguni Vora. Falguni has just joined. Dr. Chetan Nayak and Dr. Kamlesh Fatania. Okay. Dr. Falguni, kindly invite all chairpersons.
Hello, good evening, doctors. It's my pleasure to invite and welcome to all chairpersons. The chairpersons are just hold on.
Kamlesh, if you can take it, the chairpersons. We would like
Yes,
to
I would
invite
like to
Dr.
invite
Sachin Patil.
Dr. Sachin Patil from Nagpur, Dr. Sunil Gurmukhani from Ahmedabad, and Dr. Karthik Natranjan from Ahmedabad. And welcome all of you. We have hello.
Sachin is there. Sachin Patil is there.
Yeah.
Sachin, kindly introduce the speaker, first speaker,
Yeah.
please, and
Yeah.
the subject.
So we have the subject of antiplatelets, the high bleeding risk single antiplatelet, which is a very common scenario. And we have Dr. Viveka Kumar sir with us from New Delhi. He's a principal director and chief of Cath Lab Max Healthcare Cardiac Services, Saket. He has experience. He has done large volumes of complex angioplasties and valvular interventions. He has awards like Krishna Ratna Award, Vidya Ratna Award, Kanpur University in 2010, and International Award of Excellences in Cardiology from Mysore. He has done a lot of fellowships like TAVI and Structural Heart Fellowship in US and Europe, Denmark, Society of Cardiovascular Angiography and Intervention, ACC, ESC, and Fellowship of Southeast Asian Interventional Cardiology Society. He has expertise in procedures such as TAVI, structural heart diseases, all, coronary angioplasties, including complex angioplasty like multivessel PCI, bifurcation angioplasty, rota ablation, FFR, OCT, IVP, Impella devices, even peripheral, renal, and carotid angioplasties, EP study, RF ablation. His areas of interest are TAVI, structural heart disease, interventional cardiology.
Yes, Dr. Vivek Kumar, please go ahead.
Well, so good evening, friends. At the outset, let me thank Dr. Kamal for making this evening possible and this update of Cardicon. So my job is to speak on antiplatelets in high risk bleeding risk. Debate is there. So ticagrelor, I'll be resting the case for ticagrelor, and as you would know that I would say, and this is that ticagrelor is an all-season antiplatelet without higher bleeding risk and higher risk of complications. So if you look at the data, and this is the latest ESC Congress guidelines, where clearly says that in high risk cases like non-ST elevation, ACS or STEMI, there again you can see the class of recommendation for the uses of ticagrelor or the newer P2Y12 inhibitors is significantly class 1. And so this is where I would say that this whole data came from Triton TIMI 38 data for prasugrel and the Plato, the famous data from Plato. And the difference between the two was to why did we pick ticagrelor over prasugrel is that the trade-off of increased bleeding was not there with the ticagrelor. You can see that the safety benefit was there and the risk of bleeding was significantly lesser with the ticagrelor as comparable as with clopidogrel, whereas the prasugrel had a higher risk of bleeding. And if you look at the duration and choice of DAPT after PCI in chronic stable angina, 6 months is class 1 recommendation, 1 to 3 months class 2A, 1 month is class 2B, prasugrel and ticagrelor class 2B indications are there. So let's go with the case scenario which has been given to us, is that a 65-year-old diabetic hypertensive weighing 66 kilograms with past history of coronary angioplasty to LAD with drug-eluting stent, implanted 4 months back on clopidogrel and aspirin, presented with recurrent mild hematuria but normal hemoglobin, which on workup reveals benign prostatic hypertrophy as possible etiology, and his eGFR is 60 mils per minute. The ideal single antiplatelet in this scenario would be. So if you look at the balance of bleeding versus safety profile of antithrombotic therapy in PCI, we always say that the risk of stent thrombosis, that is antithrombotic efficacy in the coronary bed versus bleeding risk in the other vascular beds, which is more serious, is the intracranial bleedings. So if you look at the factors associated with increased risk of bleeding, we know that the things which can look at and increase or decrease the risk of bleeding is the aging, renal disease, liver disease, other active cancers, patients who have got low platelet count and anemia, CNS diseases, stroke, or AV malformations or intracranial hemorrhages, bleeding history if there is in past, or oral anticoagulants, NSAIDs, and plant surgery on DAPT, recent trauma and all. So high bleeding risk status, BARC 3 or 5 bleeding risk equal to more than 4% at 1 year, or intracranial hemorrhage risk of more than 1% at 1 year is there. So definitely the old thing which is there, that for antiplatelet we can't do away with aspirin, that's now being challenged, and the alternative strategies are also being looked at. If you look at the history of aspirin, it was treatment of aspirin resistance was there, then there is a irreversible platelet inhibition is there is a risk of bleeding. So these are the factors which we need to look at. And also there are sizable population which has the gastrotoxicity as well. So if you look at the landmark trial, what was called global leader trial, ticagrelor monotherapy, and there also, which was presented in Munich, 2018 ESC Congress, there also it showed that the group which was on ticagrelor alone compared to combination of ticagrelor plus aspirin, the ticagrelor monotherapy you could see did really well if you look at the BARC 3 or 5 bleeding, and also more important hard endpoint like all-cause death was also significantly better in ticagrelor monotherapy than aspirin plus ticagrelor. And also if you discontinue aspirin, that data after 3 months, the data from TRILIGHT and TECO, and it did show that there was a 40% reduction in bleeding outcomes without affecting the ischemic events. So that's again a very, very important data that we decrease the risk of bleeding, but there is no trade-off. And this is in brief what the TECOS trial, the TRILIGHT trial was. And if you look at the clinical criteria of TRILIGHT, where age more than 65 years, females, troponin positive ACS. So those high risk group, even the CKD patients were included. And in those also, you could see that the similar benefit was accrued if you look at the ticagrelor alone versus ticagrelor with aspirin, but the risk of bleeding was significantly lesser in ticagrelor alone arm. And again, you see the bleeding risk, the combination therapy, which is the blue bar, the red bar ticagrelor plus aspirin, was the red bar clearly was higher, whatever the bleeding risk you calculate, BARC 3, 5, TIMI or GUSTO or IST. And again, if you look at the efficacy wise, there was hardly any difference. So ticagrelor did match the efficacy at the, even at no trade-off of increased bleeding. So the substantially less bleeding than, in ticagrelor compared to ticagrelor with aspirin without increasing the ischemic event over the period of 1 year. So that was quite reassuring. Again, if you look at the TECOS trial, there again the high risk patients were included, and you can clearly see there was 34% reduction in bleeding and adverse event in ticagrelor monotherapy. And clearly the graph started separating early, and the benefit were quite sizable in this regard, and significant, almost 44% reduction in major bleeding with the monotherapy. So that's again quite big difference between the two. Clinical outcomes at 12 months, you can clearly see that the bleeding risk were significantly lower in ticagrelor alone arm compared to the placebo. So option in high bleeding risk, balancing the ischemic risk, ticagrelor monotherapy after 3 months of DAPT showed a significantly lower risk of bleeding and net adverse clinical event than currently recommended ticagrelor-based 12-month DAPT. And this finding indicates that ticagrelor monotherapy could be an optimal strategy balancing both ischemic and bleeding risk for the patient with ACS and who have had treatment with drug-eluting stents. So current society's guideline for DAPT, clearly if you see that these the factors where the high bleeding risk would be there, history of prior bleeding, oral anticoagulant, and many patients are getting older, CKD, diabetic, chronic steroid and NSAIDs treatment. These are the situations where we need to be mindful of, and then look at the long-term treatment also. So if you look at the,
1 minute, sir.
Yeah, so I think I'm finishing the slides now. So even if we have to have multiple issues and complex cases, the ticagrelor monotherapy is good and less bleeding risk. And Pegasus in long term, beyond 1 year, with the 60 milligram ticagrelor with aspirin has also shown to decrease the ischemic event. So to conclude, I would say that the antiplatelet option is tricky issue, and in the spectrum of CAD, and ticagrelor has earned itself as a place all-weather antiplatelet. And I would say that all our patients who are of this kind with HBR, ticagrelor would be the best choice among all the antiplatelet. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Over to the chairpersons.
Sachin, we kindly introduce the second speaker.
Dr. Chetan Shah is going to speak. He's an interventional cardiologist, Director Cath Lab, Zainova Heart Hospital, Mumbai, and he's going to speak on prasugrel as the preferred antiplatelet agent. Dr. Chetan, over to you. Please share your screen.
Yeah. Video.
Yes, Dr. Chetan Shah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Can
you see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Kamal. Thank you, chairpersons and the moderators. And I think Dr. Viveka Kumar has made my presentation very easy, that we can definitely change from dual antiplatelet to single antiplatelet after a period of 3 months. Now, my job is to prove that which is better, ticagrelor, prasugrel, or clopidogrel. And this is going to be my presentation for this high-risk profile patient. So, in debates, I always like to swear by Gita that whatever I say will be truth and nothing but truth. And for this, we will need an evidence. For this, proving this truth, we need an evidence. So what is the evidence do we have for this use of prasugrel in such a group of patients versus ticagrelor or clopidogrel? So we have this huge trial published in New England Journal of Medicine, Triton-TIMI trial with more than 13,600 patients with moderate to high risk ACS going for PCI. They were randomized to prasugrel 60 milligram loading and 10 milligram per day, and clopidogrel 300 milligram loading and 75 milligram per day, with primary endpoints of death from cardiovascular causes, non-fatal MI or non-fatal stroke, and safety endpoints of major bleeding. And what were the results? Results were the primary efficacy endpoint occurred in 12.1% of patients receiving clopidogrel and 9.9% patients receiving prasugrel. So prasugrel in this Triton-TIMI 38 study was much better than clopidogrel as far as primary endpoint was concerned of cardiovascular death, MI, and stroke. So what it showed was that there was a superior efficacy versus clopidogrel in this particular group of patients, which is maintained over a period of time. Prasugrel plus aspirin resulted in 26% reduction in cardiovascular events in combined primary endpoint of death, MI, or stroke compared with clopidogrel. Reduced risk of heart attacks in diabetics. So, our patient is a diabetic as well. A reduced risk of heart attack in diabetics by 40% compared with clopidogrel, according to this sub-study of this particular study. And most important is, patient compliance, once daily dosing, which compares favorably to twice daily dosing of ticagrelor. Clinical outcomes were not affected by proton pump inhibitors and not by variation in CYP2, C19 in contrast to clopidogrel. Quicker onset of action than clopidogrel, which should provide flexibility and allow perioperative dosing. About 90% of patients have at least 50% inhibition of platelet aggregation by 1 hour. Then we have this very important study, SR-REACT study, which randomized more than 4,000 patients. This was a head-to-head study between prasugrel and clopidogrel, and primary endpoint of composite of death, MI, and stroke, and second safety endpoint of bleeding. And what it showed, prasugrel is superior to ticagrelor for reducing ischemic events in patients with ACS and a planned invasive strategy. High levels of platelet inhibition. Prasugrel achieves approximately 80% of maximum platelet inhibition following a 60 milligram loading dose. Class 1 recommendation to start dual antiplatelet therapy in ST elevation MI. At first medical contact, and stent thrombosis was reduced by prasugrel than ticagrelor. Significant reduction in stent thrombosis if we use prasugrel as compared to ticagrelor. Again, this was a landmark trial, and the conclusion was that among patients who presented with acute coronary syndrome with or without ST elevation, the incidence of death, MI, and stroke was significantly lower among those who received prasugrel than among those who received ticagrelor. And the incidence of major bleeding was not significantly different in both the groups. So the results from a diabetic. So this patient is a diabetic patient. So what do we see different? So again, diabetic subgroup of Triton-TB38 study showed 71% reduction in the rate of primary endpoints as compared to clopidogrel. In SR-REACT 5 study, 21.4% at diabetes and 33.4% at patients who were smokers. So this was again a high-risk patient. Subject with diabetes had significant reduction in primary and all secondary endpoints in these studies. Now, this is again an important article, published in European Heart Journal, the effects of, and this is a 2020 article, effects of clopidogrel versus prasugrel versus ticagrelor on endothelial function, inflammatory parameters, and platelet function in patients with acute coronary syndrome undergoing a stenting, randomized, blinded, parallel study. And what they looked at is primary endpoint was change in endothelial dependent flow mediated dilation following stenting, and a secondary endpoint of to test the impact of 3 study medications of clopidogrel, prasugrel, and ticagrelor on the parameters of endothelial function after acute loading dose of these 3 study drugs. And if you see here, the impact of 3 study medications on interleukin-6 plasma levels on post-percutaneous coronary interventions, the levels were lowest in the prasugrel group. So, there is a benefit of this endothelial function if we use prasugrel vis-a-vis clopidogrel and ticagrelor. The prasugrel was superior to clopidogrel and ticagrelor in this particular study, receiving therapy 2 hours prior to stenting. Stenting blunted flow mediated dilation in the clopidogrel or ticagrelor group, but did not in the prasugrel group. Plasma interleukin-6 and platelet aggregation reactivity were lower in prasugrel group as compared to clopidogrel and ticagrelor. And overall, prasugrel was associated with improved endothelial function, stronger platelet inhibition, and reduced IL-6 level as compared to ticagrelor and clopidogrel. And lastly, I want to show you an article in 2020 Nature Research. This was efficacy and safety of newer P2Y12 inhibitors. This was a network analysis of patients enrolled in 16 studies, more than 41,800 patients versus 36,000 patients on clopidogrel. and concluded that prasugrel is more beneficial in reducing MACE, MI, especially in reducing definite or probable stent thrombosis among patients.
Sir, your time's up.
Yeah. Just last couple of slides. So there was a significantly decreased myocardial infarction, MACE, and stent thrombosis in this huge group of patients on prasugrel as against clopidogrel or ticagrelor. So prasugrel was significantly better in reducing all the events as compared to these other two drugs. So what do guidelines say? 2020 ESC guidelines say that, prasugrel is a class 1A indication for this group of patients. So we have this third generation novel antiplatelet inhibitor indicated in patients who are to be managed with PCI, 10 times more potent than clopidogrel for platelet inhibition. Minimal resistance as compared to both aspirin and clopidogrel. A significant reduction in cardiovascular mortality, stent thrombosis, and recurrent ischemic events as compared to clopidogrel. And it's cost effective, OD dose, enhanced life expectancy is observed with prasugrel treatment. So friends, with all this, this leaves no doubt in my mind that prasugrel is preferred antiplatelet agent given for this risk profile. So my single ideal antiplatelet agent would be prasugrel. Thank you very much.
Now the third speaker is Dr. Sharad Jain. Kindly introduce, sir. Falguni, you can introduce.
Dr. Sharad Jain is Professor Cardiology at UN Medical Institute, and he's been like big brother to me. He's always supported me in all the ways that I've done, and it's a pleasure to introduce him, and I invite him to speak on the clopidogrel aspect of this. Dr. Sharad Jain, you can share your screen.
Okay, can I start?
Yes, please.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much to Kamal for giving me this nice opportunity for in this CardiCon. He gives this every year. He's a very good friend and it's just like a younger brother to me.
We can't see your slides. So please share your screen, Dr. Sharad Bhai. Please share your screen.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Can you see now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So, starting with the clopidogrel is the safest among the three options. We all know the bleeding is a feared complication in patients who are treated with antithrombotic therapy, and management of antithrombotic therapy always creates a dilemma. We have to balance between the ischemic risk as well as the bleeding risk, both the things. We cannot stop antiplatelets and we have to be very watchful. Based on the various guidelines, the ACS recommends that in the ACS after PCI, it is recommended that the double dual antiplatelet should be given for the 12 months. That is the standard guidelines. But in special cases, in high-risk patients with the bleeding risk, that can be shortened to up to 6 months. So coming here, the identifying patients at risk of bleeding at the initiation of DAPT can now be done using precise DAPT score, which is a simple score calculated for 5 simple variables such as age, creatinine clearance, hemoglobin, etc. So our patient is having multiple risk factors. He is a diabetic, hypertensive, age is more than 65, reduced renal function, and hematuria. So he comes under a high bleeding risk group with a precise DAPT score more than 25 that he is having the high risk for bleeding. So DAPT should be discontinued and he should be switched over to a single antiplatelet agent. So given patient, as has been mentioned, it is already on clopidogrel and there is no ischemic events in the last 7 months. Here I will like to say to Dr. Viveka, it was not 4 months, it has given 7 months of clopidogrel. So and this shows that the patient is responding well to clopidogrel. So there is a time for de-escalation and not for intensification of the antiplatelet. It is the time to decrease the antiplatelet dose, not to intensify. So coming first to the trial, that tropical SES that is published in the Lancet in 2017, the background of the trial was to conceptually stage adopted treatment with de-escalation from potent to the less potent clopidogrel early after an SES may be beneficial. To date, there are no solid evidence showing the safety of de-escalation is lacking. Despite this, DAPT de-escalation is commonly done for clinical reasons. We all know that our even physician friend and cardiologist friends, if the patient is having bleeding as a side effect, if a patient is on the ticagrelor or prasugrel, they usually switch him to the clopidogrel. And second reason is the economic reasons. Many times the patient cannot afford the costly ticagrelor. A potential obstacle for de-escalation can be clopidogrel's response variability. So what they did in the tropical SES, they divided into two groups. Although it was a DAPT trial, 14 days prasugrel, and it was continued for 12 months. And another group, they give 7 days prasugrel, and then after that 7 days, they use 7 days clopidogrel, and those who are responding well to clopidogrel, they continued for 11.5 months, and those who are not responding to clopidogrel, they continued with the prasugrel. So what they found, a stage adopted and individualized antiplatelet treatment with initial potent platelet inhibition, that is prasugrel, followed by guided DAPT de-escalation to clopidogrel, proved to be feasible and safe when compared with conventional 12-month prasugrel therapy in ACH patient undergoing PCI. So this was platelet function directed DAPT de-escalation. Now coming to a very important landmark trial, STOP DAPT-2, which was published in June 2019 in the JACC, short and optimal duration of dual antiplatelet. The objective of the trial was to explore the safety and efficacy of experimental regime. What they did, the 1-month DAPT followed by clopidogrel monotherapy as compared with the standard 12-month DAPT with aspirin and clopidogrel after implantation of the cobalt-chromium everolimus stent. So in one arm they used clopidogrel after 1 month, and another arm they used aspirin plus clopidogrel for 12 months. So what they found that as far as the clinical outcomes, if you see the mass rate, it was almost similar in the two with insignificant p-value. And if you see the major difference was the decrease in the bleeding risk with the mono antiplatelet, that is clopidogrel, major as well as minor bleeding. So conclusion of the trial was that the 1-1 DAPT followed by clopidogrel monotherapy provided a net clinical benefit for ischemic and bleeding events over 12 months of DAPT with aspirin and clopidogrel. The benefit was driven significantly by reducing in the bleeding events without increase in the ischemic event. That is, our patient is also having hematuria. So this patient comes in this category. Coming to another trial, that is SMART Choice trial, which was presented in the ESC. So they randomized 3,000 patients in which they randomized to a dual antiplatelet group. First, they give an aspirin plus P2Y12 inhibitor for the first 3 months. Then in one group, they continued this for the 12 months. In another group, they stopped aspirin and they used only P2Y12 inhibitors. In this, 75% of the patients were on the clopidogrel and the remaining 25% of the patients were on the prasugrel or ticagrelor. So in the prospective randomized trial, P2Y12 inhibitor monotherapy after 3 months was non-inferior to 12 months DAPT for the primary endpoint of MES at 12 months after index event. Monotherapy reduced the risk of bleeding. If you have a closer look to the Plateau trial, as clopidogrel compared to clopidogrel, ticagrelor significantly increased risk of spontaneous bleeds, major plus minor bleeds. Ticagrelor also increased the risk of post-CABG if it is performed between 24 to 96 hours after stopping medication. Additionally, compared to clopidogrel, ticagrelor increased the risk of hematuria. So conclusion in that clopidogrel is safer than ticagrelor regarding the bleeding risk is concerned. Coming to a recently published trial in the JAMA, ischemic and bleeding events among patients with acute coronary syndrome associated with low dose prasugrel versus standard dose clopidogrel treatment. What they found that the use of low dose prasugrel was associated with high risk of short-term bleeding events as compared to the standard dose clopidogrel. And this trial was mainly done in the patient with high risk of bleeding, female sex, and the presence of STEMI or chronic kidney disease. And as our patient is also in the higher bleeding risk. So our patient had mild bleeding event defined as needing medical attention without hospital. He had hematuria, but no hemoglobin found without hospital stay. So switching from ticagrelor or prasugrel to the weaker clopidogrel should be considered. He was already on clopidogrel, so this question doesn't come as such. So according to guidelines, if single antiplatelet is to be given in our patient with bleeding risk, it should be clopidogrel and not the prasugrel or ticagrelor. So in conclude, the such cases of PCI with high bleeding risks are always a dilemma to manage, and there is no best defined antiplatelet therapy guidelines for this. Although with the above evidence, we see that compared to ticagrelor and prasugrel, clopidogrel has much lesser tendency of bleeding, and when already 6 months of DAPT has been administered and he has tolerated clopidogrel without ischemic event, it should be the recommended single antiplatelet agent of choice. Thank you.
Excellent talk by all guest speakers. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to tell you something. We are so fortunate to have someone like you, Dr. Kamal Sharma. Your hard work, dedication, and always very good organizing skill, which leads to great success, and you really deserve it. I have one question. Any role of low dose of prasugrel, or that means 5 milligram of prasugrel or 60 milligram of ticagrelor in this scenario?
So if we have to use it as a single antiplatelet agent, then I think we have to use it as a full dose. We cannot afford to reduce the dose for at least a year's time. So there is no role of a half dose prasugrel or a low dose ticagrelor in this scenario. If there is a single antiplatelet agent, then it has to be at a full dose. It has to be either 90 milligram BD of ticagrelor, 10 milligram prasugrel, or 75 milligrams clopidogrel.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be part of this CardioCon 2021. Now, any other questions? If somebody has a question, then let's discuss.
There are, I think, if I may further answer that, there are a lot of data from Japanese trial where in Japan, they don't use 10 milligram of prasugrel. So in fact, Japanese FDA has given approval for 5 milligrams of prasugrel on a regular use because they feel that they are undersized. And even, you know, in maintenance therapy, they have given those who are allergic to aspirin or, you know, high thrombotic risk there. They have given even the data from 2.5 milligrams. So Japanese, you know, trial data has supported low dose prasugrel. And less than 1 year, there is no recommended data to use 60 milligram of ticagrelor. Having said that, there are a lot of us, sometimes we feel, you know, and in my practice also in some patient, which is an off-label use, but we have tried using even 60 milligram of ticagrelor in less than 1 year's time.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I think it's point is well put across that 60 milligram has data beyond a year, and 5 milligrams has been started in Japan pretty much for patients who have a low body weight and low body surface area. So, but that doesn't justify, you know, no evidence we have for the acute bleeds in a scenario which is less than a year. So I think this is an important message to drive, and a good question, Dr. Falguni, because there is a tendency amongst physicians, you know, to use suboptimal when you bleed and super normal when you thrombose. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. We don't have evidence for it, and I think the choice has to move between what is evidence-based as we choose upon. Dr. Sachin, Dr. Sunil, Dr. Karthik, Dr. Chetan, Dr. Kamlesh, your comments, please.
I think all our speakers has described very beautifully all the role of clopidogrel, prasugrel, as well as the ticagrelor. My main concern is in most of the patient, as a physician, still we are a little confused for in a routine patient of post-MI PCI, for how many months DAPT to be used, and for a stable angina patient underwent PCI. So dual antiplatelet for 6 months will suffice. Then we have to taper. Then which single antiplatelet it should be?
So I basically use dual antiplatelet therapy for 1 year unless there are very high bleeding risk indications. So, you know, 1 year of dual antiplatelet therapy is a must for everybody, unless, you know, there is a very high bleeding risk. Then we can consider, you know, putting on a single antiplatelet agent as per the TICO and Twilight trial after 3 months, or maybe after, I don't do it, I do it after 6 months, you know, at least 6 months. To me, the dual antiplatelet therapy is a must.
Most of the physicians in India, they are using for it more than 1 year. They are continuing
Yes.
more than 1 year.
Yeah, in India, and Dr. Sharat Jain has shown some studies, you know, been 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and there are papers that tell us that 3 years does better than 2 years, and then 2 years does better than 1. Till the stop DAPT2 came, that we realized you can stop actually early. But so I think it's very wise strategy that we continue DAPT for a year to be on the safer side, as Dr. Chetan mentioned. And I think I completely agree. If you have a bleed, maybe it's more important to take off aspirin, but not to take off either of the three. That was the whole idea of creating this debate. The tendency is usually, you know, to take off the other 3 drugs and continue on aspirin, which actually is not the wise strategy, because we don't have an evidence to talk about that in the short outcomes. Most of the stop DAPT kind of trials have been designed where single antiplatelet is not aspirin, but other drugs. So that was the core idea of driving across in this debate. Any other comments from the chair, Sachin?
Sir, you made this question. So in the question, you specially mentioned that that was not a life-threatening bleeding. So the bleed that happened was not life-threatening. So you thought of these newer, relatively newer antiplatelets only? Because
so that's the
especially
whole
I saw
idea.
the question.
I mean, do you wait for a life-threatening bleed to happen? But then there is no question. I mean, but that's the whole point. I mean, you already have evidence for using single antiplatelet beyond a short duration. Then if you have an evidence to signaling or telling you that there is likelihood that he may bleed, would you not consider switching to a single antiplatelet which is other than aspirin? So that was the whole idea of creating this debate. Of course, there are no clear zones into defining as to which of the 3 you would choose, or no, why not aspirin, or will you not continue DAPT for a while and wait maybe unless you bleed actually in a major bleed. So the whole idea was to debate around what to use, when to use, what to stop, when you can stop. And I think all the 3 speakers did wonderful job, Dr. Viveka, Dr. Chetan, and Dr. Sharat Jain. Thank you very much. If there are any more
Sachin, seeing
questions.
you after a long time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very glad to
much.
meet you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll move to the
Thank you.
next session. Thank you. Dr.
Yeah.